Okay, so this is where we ended off in our lesson on Tuesday, and we're going to do sort of a couple more questions on this just to make sure it's fresh in our minds, and then we're going to look at how we can convert between effective and nominal interest. And then I don't think tonight, probably on Tuesday, we can get started on timelines. So let's start with stuff which is sort of just revision of what we did on Tuesday. So nothing in this should be scary. Let's start by breaking the question down a little bit and writing our grocery list on the side. Okay, so you invest 10,000 Rand and after 5 years, it doubles in value. All right, so let's start thinking. A, P, I, N. Okay, we invest 10,000 Rand. So is that A or P? P, good. Okay, so we invest 10,000 Rand. It doubles in value. So what is my A going to become? Times 2, yeah, so 20,000. Okay. What interest rate did your investment earn if your interest was compounded monthly? Okay, so we've got 5 years that we're dealing with it, and we're compounding monthly. So we don't know what our interest is, but we know that we're compounding monthly. That's why that's a 12. And the number of times we would have interest would be 12 times 5. Exactly. So our N would be 60. All right. So using this logic, now that you've got your grocery list, pop it into your formula. Oh, I'm writing I. I'm losing my mind. And see if you can figure that out for me. So Nayla, you made it into the top 10. That's amazing. Well done. I'm so proud of you. You put in the hard work and you are reaping the rewards. Well done. Don't forget to give me your answer as a percentage. So we're timesing by 100. Not what I got, Uyanda. but I do always, I make mistakes, so I could be wrong, but not what I got. Sorry, guys. My internet was being weird and it was kicking me out. Sorry. Let's see. Look at you answering all the questions while the internet was kicking me out of the call. Thank you. The calculator is slowing me down. That is an excuse I have not heard before. Oh yeah, 13.94. I like everything about that except there's no unit. What is it? 13.94 what? Thank you. Percent. Yes, I like 100%. If you got 13.94%, you are 100% correct. Nice job. So the first thing I would do here is I would divide both sides by the 10,000. So that this lands up becoming 2. And then we've got 1 plus I over 12 to the power of 60. So our next step is we need to root both sides. So we're going to root that. And we're going to root that. And then these two are going to cancel. And I'm going to leave this as 2 root 60 just to make my life easier. And then I have 1 plus I over 12. And I'm going to move this 1 over. So I'm going to have minus 1. And I am left with I over 12. And I've run out of space. So we're going to have to start being a bit creative. Hop over here. And we're going to multiply all of that by 12. So we're going to say 12 times root 60 and then minus 1. And that is equal to I, which means I is equal to 0,13943, which means I is equal to 13,94%. Why are we using I divided by 12? Great question. We're going to use I divided by 12 because they're asking us what would my interest be if it was being compounded monthly? And because it's being compounded monthly, we have to divide that interest by 12. If it was being compounded twice a year, we would divide it by 2. If it was being compounded quarterly, we would divide it by 4. So we're always going to divide it by how often we are compounding that interest. Happy days? Okay. So now this one's not as scary because a lot of the information's the same. So your A and P are the same, but now we're compounding quarterly. So we're not compounding monthly, but we are still doing it for 5 years. So we know our A is still 20,000. We know our P is still 10,000. We need to figure out our I, and we need to figure out our N. Good. Compounded quarterly, which means our I is going to be divided by 4. Or if you learned at school, you times it by a quarter, that's absolutely fine. Good. So if 4 is the number of times per year that I'll be having interest, and then times 5 is the number of years. So my N is going to be 20. Okay, I can move that up now. So now it's very, very similar. You can actually jump quite a few steps to make your life easier. Okay, we're getting more similar answers this time. That's promising. Let me give you a little bit more time. Okay, we all seem to be in agreement. Great. That's good news. Whoa. Okay, so I can actually jump to this step over here and just change my values because everything else is the same. So I have my 2 is equal to 1 plus I over 4 to the power of 20. So all I've done there is I've taken the 20,000 and divided it by the 10,000. So the next step is to root that 2, and then we have 1 plus I over 4. And then we're going to minus that 1. Then we are going to multiply all of this by 4. And that is going to give us our I. And our I is going to equal 0,141059, which means as a percentage, it will be 14,11%. Yay! We're getting better. What happens if you put it in the wrong digits, but the steps are correct? Do you still get a mark? Yes, you would still definitely get marks for showing understanding. Okay, what did you do? No, you cannot divide. Okay. I'll take that. Okay, last one like this, so it should now be super easy. Compounded semi-annually. So now this should feel like crazy easy. Boo, that is the worst division I've ever seen in my life. N is definitely not 2. N is definitely going to be 10. So our I is going to be I divided by 2 because it's semi-annually. And our N is we're going to be getting interest twice a year for 5 years. Nice. Oh yeah, did you have I divided by 2 or did you just have I? I think that might be where that number was coming from. Ooh. It's losing my mind, guys. What a mess. Ah, there we go. Okay, that makes sense. Going to root that, and we're left with our 1 plus I over 2. Then we're going to subtract our 1 and multiply that all by 2. And then we're going to stick that into the calculator exactly like that. And we'll see that I is equal to 0,1435446. So as a percentage, it will be 14,35%. Okay, are we feeling confident with this? Are we feeling good? Good. So now we're going to do some things which can get a little messy. So before we jump into the questions, we spoke about this on Tuesday. There are 2 different things we're looking at here. We've got nominal and effective. Who can tell me what nominal interest rates are? Don't worry if it's not right. Just give it a try. What if I said an example? So, oh, great. You didn't even need my example. Beautiful. The time periods don't match. Okay, so what I mean by that is if our question said 12% per annum compounded monthly. Okay, so this is saying per annum, and this is saying monthly, and a year and a month don't match time-wise. Okay, so then an effective one is where they do match. So if I had 12% per annum compounded annually. Okay, that is the only sort of thing about nominal and effective. So these two do match, which makes it effective. Okay. Sometimes we have to jump between these two. And we've actually done a question on Tuesday where we sort of started this idea. But now we're going to do ones which are a little bit more complicated. And we need to try and figure out how to convert from one to the other. So I'm going to do this one for you. I'm going to kind of, yeah, exactly, Leander. I'm going to walk you through exactly what we would do. And then the next one, I'll let you try and work sort of by yourself. And we can go from there. Okay. So the first thing we do is we break it up into sort of two categories. We have our nominal, and then we have our effective. The formula is going to be the same for both. So I'm just going to write this over here. So long, we've got our P1 plus I to the power of N, and our nominal on the side over here. Okay. Who can tell me why I was able to write what I've just written? What does this mean? What does this line over here essentially mean? Yeah, they're equal. What does this normally equal? What does P1 plus I to the power N, what does that normally equal? A, right? And so what we're saying here is that our nominal A needs to equal our effective A. So our amount at the end of the day needs to be the same. And so that's all we're doing. We're making a simultaneous equation with the assumption that our end amount is going to be the same for both interest rates. That's all we're doing. So we're making our A's equal to each other. Okay. Now let's try and look at what information we have. So we're going to have our grocery lists again, but we're going to have two grocery lists because we're going to have one for nominal and then one for effective. And let's have a look at our question. So convert 11% per annum compounded quarterly to an effective interest rate. Okay, so we've got P, we've got A, we've got I, we've got N. When we're doing this, we can kind of just assume what we're wanting to assume. We don't need to worry about A because we're already saying that our A's are equal to each other. Our P, we can put in any value as long as it's the same in both. So let's say I put in 100 for my P. That's fine as long as I put in 100 for my P in effective. We don't need to have a value for it. You could also just put in 1 if you wanted to. Doesn't even have to be 100. You can literally just put in 1. Totally fine. Or 10, whatever you feel comfortable with. Our interest rate is being compounded quarterly. So we've got 11% divided by 4. And let's say hypothetically we're working with 1 year, then we would say 4 times 1, which is equal to 4. Okay, so that's our nominal situation. Then if we look at our effective situation, so again, we've got P, A, I, and N. We've already said that it's for 1 year. So our N is 1. We said our P has to be the same. So if my P was 1 over there, my P is going to be 1 over here. My interest rate, I don't know. And my A, I don't need to know because I'm just saying that they are equal to each other. Okay. Before I carry on, does anyone have any questions about what we've got over here so far? Basically, what we're doing is we are investing 1 Rand for 1 year. The I value for the nominal. So the reason the I value would be 11% over 4 is because they're telling us it's being compounded quarterly. So we have to divide that 11 by 4 because of the quarterly payments. Okay. So now we're just going to put that information into our equation that we've got over here. Our P is 1. Then we have 1 plus 11% over 4 to the power of 4. And that is equal to 1 times 1 plus I, which we don't know, to the power of 1, because that's my n value. I can then just put all of this into the calculator exactly like that because I have all of my information, and I land up with 1,11462. And this is to the power of 1, so we don't need to really worry. We land up with this side with just 1 plus I. So now I can minus my 1, and that's going to equal I. So I land up with 0,11462, which is equal to I. Therefore, I is equal to 11,46%. And just to check that you're right, your effective will always be bigger than your nominal. Always. So that's like a nice way of just making sure you know you're correct. And that is how we convert between nominal and effective interest rates. Take a screenshot if you would need. Please feel free to ask questions if I've said something that doesn't make sense. Cool. Okay. I haven't got questions, so I'm assuming we're feeling okay so far. Great. In that case, it's your turn to try a question now. Please, can you try this one for me? I'll give you some time. I know it's a new concept. I don't want to rush you, but if you need help along the way, just ask. So I would always just make P1. It's just the easiest. So the easiest way to do these questions is always to just invest 1 rand for 1 year. But it doesn't matter. As long as your p-value is the same in both, you'll get the right answer. So they're unlikely, Sanele, to tell you. They'll just say to convert it. So that's why we can just make it as easy as possible for ourselves and just make it 1. But if they did tell you, then they tell you, and then you just put in that value. Okay, so Ulya's coming with our first answer. Let's see if we agree or if we disagree. I also got a different answer, Kulani. So I don't be scared. Pop your answers in the chat when you've got one and you're feeling confident. And then we can talk through the answer. Okay, I feel better about my answer now. To Boho, that's exactly what I got. Does anyone need more time? Let me know in the chat if you need some more time. Just tell, and if you do, tell me how long you need. I don't want to rush you. We good? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start putting in the information that we know. We're going to keep our P1 for both of them. And in this case, we've got 14.2%. It's an effective annual interest of 14.2%, and we're trying to convert it to a nominal interest rate, which is compounded monthly. Okay, so in our nominal one, we know that it's going to be divided by 12, but we don't know what that I is. In our effective, we know that it's 14.2%. Okay, cool. Our N in our effective is 1 year, and in our nominal, it's being compounded monthly, so it's 12 times 1, which is 12. And then we can just pop that straight into our formulas over here. So our p-value is 1, and then we've got 1 plus 14.2% to the power of 1, which is equal to 1 plus I over 12 to the power of 12. Okay. Now, because we've got lots of 1s, it makes our life a little bit easier. So we can root this side, the power of 12, and we have 1 plus 14.2% inside there. And that's equal to 1 plus I over 12. So then we're going to minus our 1. And then we are going to multiply all of this by 12. And we land up with I is equal to 0.1335184, which is 13.35%. And then we just double check. So our interest rate, which was effective, was 14.2, and our interest rate, which is nominal, is 13.35. And so our nominal is smaller than our effective, which is what we want. So we know we're good to go. Anyone have any questions about what's currently on the board or anything that's not making sense? Or if it's maybe different to what you got and you don't know why it's different, any questions are welcome. Everything. Okay, Uyanda, can you tell me where, because it can't be everything. So, okay, so basically all we're doing is, because it's 1 times, it doesn't matter, and it's to the root, to the power of 1, which means that doesn't matter either. So essentially what this line actually looks like without everything is just 1 plus 14.2%, which is equal to 1 plus I over 12 to the power of 12. That's just getting rid of the ones that we don't need. So then the first thing, which is our sort of issue that we need to deal with, is this 12 power. And so that's why we're going to root it. So we're going to root to the 12. And then we're just left with I plus I over 12, 1 plus I over 12. So to get rid of, because we're trying to isolate this dude over here. So then we minus our 1. So we're taking that 1 over onto the other side. We're still trying to isolate this I. So we're left with this 12, which is why we're going to multiply that side by 12 so that the 12 goes away. And then we get to where we need to be because our I is isolated. So we just do it step by step. The more practice, the easier it will get. Yeah, absolutely. You can work with any number as long as your p-value is the same in both. So like if I made this p20, as long as I also made that p20, it's fine. As long as they're the same, it's not a problem. Yeah. So my n value for effective means that our time frames are the same. So if this is an annual interest rate and we're hypothetically investing 1 Rand for 1 year, then I'm only going to be like compounding my interest once, which is my annual interest. So that's why it's happening one time in a year. Then in my nominal situation, it's being compounded monthly. So I'm going to have 12 times that I'm going to be compounding my interest in that 1 year. That one is my year. And so that's why I land up with 12. But this is just saying that I only have one time that I'm going to be getting interest in my 1 year. Anytime. Great questions, guys. Okay. The next one is on the same lines as what we've been doing, but a little bit quirkier. So it's asking you which interest rate will you earn more money in 1 year if you had 10% compounded annually, or if you had 9.8% per annum compounded quarterly. So what you are trying to do is you are trying to figure out the A. You can choose what you want your P value to be, and you can choose what you want your N value to be. So when they don't give you a P and an N, I always recommend invest 1 Rand for 1 year. So our P would be 1 and our N would either be 1 or 4, depending on which one you're working with. So you need to work out two different A's here. You need to work out your A for this situation and then your A for this situation and see which one would give you more money. And the values are very, very close. So be very, very careful. Okay, I'm curious, Khulani, how much money did you get in both scenarios? Oh, we're not in the same. Okay. We need more decimal places, I think. That's what I think. Yes, Twoho. Okay. Look at all those decimal places. I love it. Okay. So when we work with this situation, I'm going to P-A-I-N. Our P, we're making 1 Rand. Our A, we don't know. Our I is 10,5%, and our N is 1. And then in our yellow situation, our P is still 1. Our A, we still don't know. Our interest rate is now 9.8% over 4 because it's being compounded quarterly, and our N is going to be 4. So if we get that, now we're good to go. So let's start with the first one. Our A is equal to 1 times 1 plus 10,5% to the power of 1, which it gives us 1 Rand, 105. And then in our second situation, A would be equal to 1 times 1 plus 9.8% divided by 4 to the power of 4, which gives us 1,10166. So if we rounding it off to 3 decimal places, it would be 1,102. And so then, because this one is by 0.03 greater than 10.5% per annum, earns more. Yay! Okay, are you ready for a mean question? Yes, yes, you are. I'm going to ignore the no, and I'm going to read it as yes. Okay. I don't even want you to worry about B for now. We'll come back to B. I know you'll be able to do B. I want you to first work on A. So Chris invests 10,000 Rand on the 1st of May 2006. By the 1st of January 2010, this amount has risen to 18,500 Rand. The nominal interest rate is X% compounded monthly. Find X. This is all about getting the right initial values. So you would definitely get marks if you make mistakes, but I want to see if anyone gets it right the first time around. So we're looking for X, which is essentially our I. This is all about the end. Oh, okay. Abu, I like what you're thinking there. I like the 3 years and 8 months. So what would my n value be if it was 3 years and 8 months? Aha, okay. You didn't fall for my trap. So in case anyone's sort of struggling with seeing what's happening over here, if I had to go from the 1st of May to the 1st of January, I am dealing with 3 years and 8 months, which is 36 months plus 8 months, which would give me 44. So that would be my n value. So now I have an n value. That was the trick to this question. It was a nasty n that you had to work out. Then you can just pop it into your equation. Fulani, I like mostly that. I think something just happened with your rounding. And once you feel confident with that, you can do B for me. Ah, there we go. 16.9, love it. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple more minutes to finish this one. And if you have finished it, you can work on calculating the effective interest rate. What's effective interest rate? Effective interest rate is when our time frames are the same. That is 100% correct. Oh, no. So remember, the 44 is how many times it's happening, not how many times in the year that it's being compounded. So for this one, our nominal is, we're just going to make the P1, 1 plus 16.90% that we've just worked out, divided by 12 to the power of 12. You could make it 44 and put in your original P. That's absolutely fine. And then your effective, just keeping it as 1 again, just to make life easy. And then we're looking for I. So we can pop this straight into the calculator exactly like that. And we would land up with 1,1827 is equal to 1 plus I. So 0,1827 is I. Therefore, our effective interest rate is going to be 18.27%. Tidamano, why are you saying hi now? Have you just arrived at 6:30? Okay, so the trick with this question was getting the 44 months. And if you got the 44 months, then everything else would have worked. If you were in an exam situation and you messed up those 44 months, you would have still gotten accuracy marking as it went along here. And you would have definitely gotten all of these if you had put in the correct numbers. So don't panic. You would have probably only lost 1 mark for getting the wrong number of months. Okay. I think this is actually our last one. Yeah. Okay. Last question for the night. No help. I want the right answer. We did B. This is B. The orange is B. The under. So, okay, so I just made my p-value 1 and my year 1 year. So it would be 12 times within a year. But you can absolutely use your 10,000 as your p-value and make your months 44. It's just that when you get to your effective, when it comes to the years for your effective, that's going to get messy. So it's just always easier when you're converting between nominal and effective to just always make your P1 and your N1 or like multiplied by how many times it happens. So my advice, anytime you do conversion between effective and nominal, is you're investing R1 for 1 year. And it's much, much easier then to work through. Because if we have to convert 44 months into years, that's going to be messy. Because we can't just say 3,8. That wouldn't be right. Yeah, exactly. It's just easiest. It's like just, and you'll never be asked to do anything different. So this is a good example where there is a p-value, but I don't need to use it. I can always make it investing R1 for 1 year whenever I do converting between effective and nominal interest rates, anytime. Okay. All right, last question for the night.